When people talk about Lane Kiffin in the transfer portal and this group of players he's put together in the latest cycle, they're going to look at the wide receivers, the defensive backs, the skill position players, if you will. But I think it's the trenches. That's what I'm most impressed by. Because I think, guys, you go back before this transfer portal cycle begun. You go back to last season. After Ole Miss was shellacked by the Georgia Bulldogs, and you listen to the words that Lane Kiffin had to say. Folks, this is a guy that even if, at times, the way his message is delivered, some folks are not a great fan of, no matter, the bottom line is Lane Kiffin is a guy who gets it. He understands that you build a successful football team, right? Not just an okay football team, not a good football team, a great football team. You build that caliber of football team from the inside out. You build it from the inside out. Because, guys, everybody in the SEC's got playmakers. Everybody's got a guy on their roster run a 4-3. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you that Alabama and Ole Miss don't have more playmakers than Vanderbilt. That's not what I'm saying, but everybody's got enough to compete. Ole Miss had playmakers last year, guys. Had plenty of them. Why couldn't they hang with Georgia? The Big Uglies. Bottom line. The Big Uglies on both sides of the football. And Lane Kiffin is showing in the portal that he understands that. This news coming late last night, guys. Former Washington offensive lineman Devontae Nate Kalepo has committed to Ole Miss. 6'6", 325-pound offensive lineman. He started all 15 games for Washington last season. Guys, it was an offensive line, in case you have not realized, that won the Joe Moore Award, given to the best offensive line in college football. I think some folks still don't realize how good that O-line was, right? Because you think of Washington, it's West Coast, right? They're going to be finesse. They're going to be spread. That Washington offensive line was mean, was nasty, was big, was physical. And so you'd think, guys, like Ole Miss has done so much great work in the portal already. What more do they need? Lane Kiffin said, we need more help in the trenches. We need more Big Uglies. They're not even done yet. They might get another one. Latest rumors, there might be another one that Lane Kiffin ends up landing. Announcement just hasn't dropped yet. But, guys, you look at the transfer portal class, the transfers coming in for Ole Miss. I look at Nate Kalepo, 6'6", 341, he's listed. I look at Daquan Wright, the tight end. I'm sure he'll help in blocking scheme. 6'3.5", 249. You look at Diego Pounds from UNC, 6'7", 330. Walter Nolan, 6'4", 345. Princely Uman Mielen on the edge, 6'4", 250, though. Still has a ton of size. You look at Jerquan Scott, coming over from Southern Miss, 6'4", 300. People are going to talk about Juice Wells. They're going to talk about Yam Banks. They're going to talk about, Key Lawrence. They're going to talk about Pooh Paul. They're going to talk about Devin Price. They're going to talk about these playmakers, Logan Diggs. They're going to talk about the skill position players on the outside. And that's great, guys. Hell, even on the outside of defensive back, Amarian Walker from Michigan. He's a DB, but he's 6'4" at corner. 6'4", 180. They're going to talk about, though, those skill position guys. But when you look at what Lane Kiffin's doing in transforming Ole Miss football, right? You win 11 games last year, first time in school history. But I think Lane Kiffin identified, because the 2 games they lost, Bama and Georgia, they got bullied. Even in the bowl game, guys, they took Penn State to the woodshed. But you watch that game, guys, Jackson Dart was running for his life. The plays he made was, incredible. And to win at the level that Ole Miss fans want to, and Lane Kiffin obviously wants to get the program to, you build it from the inside out. You get the big uglies, you get that offensive line, that defensive line, you get that in place. It's funny how the rest of it just sort of takes care of itself. So I'm fascinated. I love watching Lane Kiffin work in the transfer portal because he is a guy that gets it. He is a guy that understands you build it from the inside out. You can have all the bells and whistles, and you can have all of the fancy windows and the siding and everything on the house you want. But you better have that foundation, and the foundation are the big uglies. Lane Kiffin understands that, and I think that's one of the reasons why Ole Miss is nearly a lock to be a 12-team college football playoff contender this fall.